Still on regional security issues and, of course, Amotekun law, we have the Speaker, Ekiti State House of Assembly, Fumini Yafuye. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, viewers.
Well, just earlier on, we had the advisor to the Oyo State Governor speaking about, the initiative for Oyo State. We understand that Ekiti was the first to pass this, but then
Yes.
it will be signed. It's expected to be signed.
We are the first to pass the bill
Right.
to law, and on Monday, 11 a.m., the governor is going to put his hand, and it becomes law.
A law.
Yes.
Right. So we understand that for Oyo State, there's still some talks, conversations with stakeholders involved before this kicks into, full practice. But for Ekiti State, what's the modality right after the governor signs this?
Well, the law, by the time it's passed, it rolls on. And the background to this, to the law, if you recall, was the security summit of all the governors of the states of Western Nigeria. And immediately, all the houses of assembly swung into action. And we went through the whole process. And if you recall, this Amotekun, what is now known as Amotekun, which is Southwest Security Network, received what I can call the referendum of approval by the people of Western Nigeria, Southwest, what some people want to call Southwest. And it will be remiss of any government not to listen to what the people are saying. At the summit, every sector was present. Indeed, the police and all the security agencies were invited. Cross-section of the whole of the people, they were present at the summit. And the fallout of it is what we are now talking about. And you don't forget, Southwest was becoming another area where insecurity was taking over. And of course, the governors would not allow that to happen. At least let's create some zones of security zones, law and order zones, and that's the essence of the Amotekun bill.
So is it a Southwest Security Network or the Ekiti State Security Network?
Well, all the Southwest governors came together, but the law itself is domesticated in each of the states. But of course, with almost the same sections and the same provisions. And the essence of it is, if we look at it, these are states that they were under one government before. And of course, the collaboration must continue for development, for security.
Right. So I'm just wondering, the Southwest Security Network, is it a body? Is it recognized?
No, it's not Southwest. It's now Ekiti State Security Network law.
So there's nothing like the Southwest
Security
Security
Network
Network
like that
anymore?
But because all the states of the Southwest key into it, and each state is domesticating the law, maybe that's why people have the impression that because under the law, under the Constitution, we'll be violating the Constitution if we say Southwest, because nothing like that in the Constitution. So whatever the law entails in each of the states is domesticated, but you can now network amongst yourselves.
But we also understand that the Ekiti State Security Network is going to be coordinated by Dawn?
No, people are not getting this thing right. Dawn is a creation of the intellectuals, the technocrats, who are not in government. They now act as think tank for the people, and they come up with ideas which they give to the governors. And the governors, when they see it as things that are implementable or things that are meant for the development of Western Nigeria or Southwest Nigeria, as we want to call it, they go for it. And mind you, security has no space. It is all over the place. If you have insecurity here in Lagos, it will spill into Ogun State, spiral into Oyo State, it goes to Oshun. Before you know it, it's in the Ekiti and Ondo State. So the people had to now come together, and that was what was actually happening. It was getting to a situation where you cannot travel along the routes, and you must provide. Of course, the police are doing their best. The police are doing their best, but when it now comes to the nitty-gritty of the forests, of the nooks and crannies, the police may not be in a position to go into the forest.
We'll get to that, the operations, but still on this Dawn angle, what is the role? Does Dawn Development Agenda for Western Nigeria, does that organization have any role to play as far as Amotekun is concerned?
Yes, they were the people that really brought all the governors together. And the governors, and in any case, we say Dawn Development Agenda for Western Nigeria. I think it was started sometimes about 6 or 7 years ago. They think along development and along security. So they now brought all the states of the Southwest together with a view to resolving the issue of insecurity.
Okay.
And if you want development and you don't have security, as pointed out by the person that was on tube, the special advisor for your state, or any other person, there is no development. Because people will not bring in, you will not take your money where your life is not safe. Okay. And security is one of the items on the agenda of Dawn. Meanwhile, it goes beyond security. It has to do with the total development of our area. Bearing in mind where we're coming from, you will note that Western Nigeria was the signature, was where you needed to emulate under the government of Chief Obafemi Awolowo. And where if we had development at that period, why not reenact it now? That is the essence of Dawn.
Right. Well, I mean, let's quickly take a look at the objectives of the agency. That's the Ekiti State Security Network Agency. Just to run through, you see it's meant to gather and share intelligence about crime in progress. And you see the part where it's meant to collaborate with similar security network agencies and to assist the police in apprehending such criminals. We just prepared some of them for you. And we know that the police has a community policing initiative ongoing. The IGP has spoken about it. He's met with the Southeast governors, even Southwest governors in Lagos. And the question usually is, I'm sure you've probably had to answer this question, how will this work side by side with the community policing?
They work together.
Initiative?
There's nothing too much, no structure too much for the security of the people. The community policing that is now coming up, maybe as a consequence of the steps taken by the governors of Southwest. And if they come on board, all of them are going to collaborate. You read the objective of this thing. Well, we are not operating outside the Constitution because the police is there. And definitely whatever Amotekun is doing or is going to do is going to be in active participation, in active support of the mandate of the police. So there's no conflict.
There's nothing like too much.
No, nothing is too much for security. If, for instance, if this area is being attacked by people and a section of the community wants to protect itself, what's bad about that? And if it's now the old community, they're still working towards the same goal. The essence of it is to ensure that there is security. And in any case, the essence of governance, the essence of the state is the protection of life and property.
But you know that even with the Nigerian army and the police, sometimes we have interagency issues. And that's for the police and the army. So people are wondering, with this community policing initiative of the police and the Amotekun, won't there be possibility of interagency, if I could say, a rivalry from time to time? Yes, we might never have too much, but how are you going to curb that?
Let me assure you, the provisions of the law takes care of the limits of the power of Amotekun. And whether there will be conflict or not, if the way to resolve it is contained in the law itself. So I don't think there's going to be any conflict at all. Why should there be conflict? You want to protect me, and the other person wants to protect me. Why should we fight over it?
But you know, the backings are different. One is backed by the state, as it were. The other by the federal structure.
The federal structure allows the state to protect itself. There is no conflict there.
So imagine an order comes from the federal structure, do this. Another comes from the state.
They will not do that in view of the security challenges we have in Nigeria. The civilian Joint Task Force in the north, they are the people supporting the army. Why should you now not allow them? Because they know the terrain.
You know, the concern that a number of people may bring up on this same issue is, you know, that of political leanings. You know, some might say that, hey, the person who is the federal government is not in the same party as this state government, and consequently, if the police is taking sides, looking at this challenge in one from one pinnacle, another, you know, pinnacle is what the state is taking. So if that happens, what happens?
In the first instance, the police or any security agent should not take political stand. It shouldn't. And perhaps that's one of the problems we're facing now. But in the case of Amotekun, it is clearly stated, go to section 19, that it prohibits that the structure should be used for any political end. And in any case, the personnel, the bodies, the structures contained in the law prohibits any political leaning. And that is the beauty of it. Go and look at all these sections of the law, because all the attorneys general of the state, they met, we speakers met, our governors are meeting, because we need to start creating a civil ordered society. And one of the laws I can say for sure that will guarantee that is this Amotekun law. And meanwhile, wait a minute. All the governors in Southwest are not in the same political party, and yet they are collaborating. I give kudos to Governor Makinde. He has given real legitimacy to this law in the sense that it belongs to a different political party. But the thing that is common amongst them is that we live in the same territory, and insecurity or security has no. It doesn't identify whether you belong to a political party or not. And like I said, Section 19 of the law is very, very clear about the prohibition of using Amotekun for any political end. And all the people that are going to be recruited, they must not have any political coloration. They must not be partisan, so to speak.
How is that going to work?
It's going to work by way of recruitment.
Okay. Because, I mean, the experience has been different over time. For instance, the chairman of the board is going to be, of the governing board is going to be appointed by the governor, who is a politician and who belongs to a political party.
There are checks and balances.
Okay.
The House of Assembly, they will have to receive the imprimatur of the House of Assembly.
But you also know...
In any case, a society gets the kind of society they want. But in this case, the people of all the states of the Southwest have told us this is what they want. They want to be secured. For instance, this is your house, this is my house. You belong to China, I belong to Ekiti. If insecurity is coming, it doesn't identify your house, especially the nature of the ones that we have in Nigeria today. Hearing that people are kidnapped. I know you have brothers and sisters or friends who have been kidnapped. Is it because they are of a political party? Is it because they are partisan? It cuts across. So the essence of Amotekun, which I don't want people to lose sight of, is security, security, security. And which security will work with all the security agencies for the protection of our people. The reason of state is the protection of life and property.
Okay. Just briefly, when would you start accepting applications?
Well, when the implementation starts.
When will that be?
Well, immediately, you have to sign the law first. Then there will be a process of recruitment. And the recruitment is going to be devoid of any political coloration.
Because I was looking at the recruitment process, and I see that the person has to apply in writing to the agency. The person has to receive confirmation of a DPO.
They have to be screened.
Right.
Fully screened. Even if you pass through a stage, the next stage will discover whether you're covering up some things, and you are out of the system.
I wanted to raise a part where he says you have to receive confirmation of a DPO in the person's local government of residence, not origin. So essentially, it doesn't have to be someone from Ekiti State.
Yes, and that is one of the other. One thing people must realize, that Southwest will protect anybody, no matter whether you're a woman, man, from any tribe, if you are living in Western State, that is the Southwest State. It's not for that you are a Yoruba person.
So you're saying that if I'm not from Ekiti State, perhaps, just for example, I'm from Abia State and I reside in a certain local government,
You'll be protected.
Can I be a part of Amotekun, is what I'm saying?
Well, that one is left to the implementations. Let's leave that to the implementation stage. And in any case, if you are from Abia, do you know the nooks and crannies of Ekiti?
Well, residents, that's what it says here.
The residents, but you must demonstrate substantial knowledge of where you live. Simple.
Does the person have to be, can the person be recommended by people, by the locals?
It's left to them. It's left to the local people. But the conception of, I will not pretend, the conception of Amotekun is strictly first. The first line is for the people who are locals, who have the history and the knowledge of their locality.
Essentially indigenous.
Yes, indigenous. And and that's one of the problems we have with the Nigerian police. They're doing their best. But security is purely local. I went to school in my village. We know the family that when a thing happens, we can zero down them. But if I go to Abia, as you said, and I want to go and police, I don't know the history of that area.
That's if the reason I say this, because recently I think there was this proposal to have people that have stayed in a certain state for 10 years, they can now say that they're from that state. So in this case, perhaps someone who has stayed in that area, by the way, I should say, says local government of residence, not origin. So if someone has stayed there for a while, 10 years.
Well, leave that to the implementation. The implementation of the law. And it's subject to local realities and objective realities. Right. But essentially, we must not water it down by saying it's an all-common thing. It isn't an all-common thing. It is not.
Right. And another talk which we raised earlier was talk about remuneration, payment. Is that still subject to discussions from stakeholders, or what is the agreement on paying Amotekun core members?
Of course, they have to be provided for in the budget. And there are other provisions of the law where they can source for funds, donations. You can embark on one or two money accruing ventures to finance it. They're essential, but I can assure you, the governors of the states are poised to ensure that Amotekun is not starved of funds. Because if you don't provide for them,
we'll find a way.
There will be no, it will be on paper. And if you look at the implementation so far, that is the pre-law stage, you will see vehicles. These are part of and gadgets. Okay. They are up, and meanwhile, the operation of security in modern societies cannot survive without technology, without the equipment. You can stay here and apprehend somebody who is far away from here. And if you look at the essence of it, to gather information, to ensure that crime or crimes are not committed.
Okay. One of the sections of the Amotekun law in Ekiti says persons who are members of registered vigilante groups operating within the state may be engaged in the Amotekun law, in the Amotekun core. How is this going to work if, for instance, certain vigilante groups have political leanings and they have to come, and they also propose to come into the
They are
Amotekun core?
edited by the operation of the law. If you have political leaning, you are not in contemplation at all.
Take us through the qualifications for anyone who wants to be a member.
You must be a fit and proper person.
Okay.
But the standard has not been, I mean, the implementation of who to be a member has not been, but it's clearly stated in the law that you cannot be a part of it if you are not a fit and proper person. Of course, if you are living in a location, people know you, they know your family, they know your background, they know whether you are taking part in politics or you are a partisan, even if you are not, if you are not taking on any political post, they will know you. And we don't want this to happen to Amotekun, because that will be the foundation of its destruction. And like I said, there is full prohibition of partisanship, both in the appointment of personnel and even the structures that will implement Amotekun.
So Amotekun core members, maybe even at the board level, complaints board and the other board, should not be card-carrying members of parties.
No,
is that what
they
you're
cannot
saying?
be.
Right.
They cannot be. Simple.
Who executes this law?
Of course, even if we are talking about this, there must be government. Government will ensure. That's where the civility, it now calls to question the integrity of the governor, because you can't just leave it to this thing. But if you look at the number of people who are to take part, it involves traditional rulers, it involves students, it involves all the various groups who are interested in the security of the people. And I draw your attention to when public hearing, which is part of the process of making this law, when it held, especially in my state, you would marvel at all the people that came, people that were not even, you never knew were interested in this thing. But because security is very important to them, you want to sleep at night with 2 eyes closed. You want to travel without the fear that somebody is going to kidnap you. We want to do many things. We want to bring in investors so that your economy and the empowerment of the people, and there is no government that will not make economy.
I asked that question, Honorable Speaker, because you are a politician. And I asked the direct question of who executes this law, and you have said it's the government. The government is led by a governor who is a politician. And there are always political interests in many things that's the fear that the number of people are expressing, which is why there was even a protest in Lagos yesterday that some politicians, even though the intentions of the law are genuine, but some politicians may hijack this initiative for political interests.
If politicians are hijacking it, it's unfortunate that the intent of the law is being violated. As simple as that. And
which is why I asked the question, who executes this law?
No matter what, there are checks and balances in the execution of the law. While the governor appoints, which of course you can't throw it to open, the governor appoints, but it must receive the sign-off of the House of Assembly, especially in critical areas. Except you want to say we are operating in a void. You cannot operate in a void.
On a final note, we're seeing a trend of other regions coming up with the south, southeast, northwest, northeast, saying or maybe we should have our own security network. So what will the relationship be? just in case they come up? For example, with the South, with the Southeast, what would the relationship be?
Of course, in the final analysis, what is happening far away in Maiduguri can spiral down to the south, which is what we are witnessing today. In the past, there was no herdsmen invasion. There wasn't any attack or people kidnapping people. But now, the phenomenon has gone round. To that extent, it's only reasonable if you have another outfit outside the southwest, which has the same intentions. You collaborate, simple. And if we look at even the section of, the provision of the law, the establishment, it says you can collaborate with any other security network.
But it says particularly, in our says particularly,
of course, you have to
Osun.
start from a catchment area.
Definitely, yeah.
You must start from a catchment area. And meanwhile, the JTF had been operating in the north. The HISBA has been operating there. The moment, they can still go ahead to collaborate with each other.
Okay.
For instance, it will be foolhardy that the Southwest is not insulating it. It's not interested in what is happening in Kwara. It's not what is happening in Edo. So all these things, they come together. But the crux of the matter is we want security in the Southwest, but you must start from somewhere.
And which is why it is gratifying that after like 9 months this has come to where it has come. We have to thank you very much, Mr. Fumini Yafuye.
You didn't even tell me your names.
Well, I'm Ayo. He's Kayode. We both have Ayos in our names. Okay. Fumini Yafuye is Speaker, House of Assembly, Ekiti State. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Good morning.
Back in a moment. Please stay with us.